Okay, perfect. Hi, everyone. Good evening.
Good evening.
How is everyone doing?
I'm good.
Good. What about the others?
We all are good.
Nice.
Okay, first of all, from all the people that we have here, how many of you are mutants?
Just to know the group better.
Yeah, maybe raise your hands or something.
Uh, I'm writing in May.
Okay,
Okay,
yes,
one.
Simran, yes.
Yeah.
Also writing in May.
Okay.
Nice. So are the others all September then?
Anisha
Okay,
is
Anisha is
writing.
also writing in
Okay.
May, yes.
So maybe we have like a 50-50.
Yeah.
Yeah, good. And thanks for making out time, to be honest, because we are very close to the exams. So thanks for making this time out, and especially because it is also tax deadline. So many of you may be working in and around. Not the best day to choose, but this was working with our schedule. So we thought we'll ask you guys, and many people were showing interest. So we said, why not? Okay. So this is a coffee chat sessions for who have not been here to the coffee chat before. So what we do is it is just an open round discussion. Whosoever has any questions, about preparation, ideally not registration related, but preparation related, any concerns or challenges that they are facing, just shoot your questions and we will be happy to help.
Yeah.
Anyone wants to go first?
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like I'm facing issues with the time management. Like, it goes over time for me, especially in day three. Maybe because we are given three cases, so time goes in reading the case. So, I just want to know, like, how much time I should give to the reading and how much time in writing an AO. Like, sometimes, a single AO takes more time. So, I just want to know, like, what time I should be giving, like, for both the days, day two and day three.
Okay.
Yeah.
So day three, that's a simpler answer. So I'll take that one first. So for day three, how do you go is you averagely say you have 80 minutes. So let's consider a 80-minute day three case. 7 or 6 questions, maybe say consider 6 questions. Averagely, you should be have in your mind 10 minutes per AO, averagely, but generally tax or SNG, one of them you should be aiming should get completed in 6 to 8 minutes, so that you have 2 to 3 minutes extra time for financial reporting, ideally not management accounting but financial reporting. So that's your 60 to 65 minutes of attempting, and then the balance 15 minutes is reading your case. So that's the very
normally,
ballpark.
by a thumb rule, what they say is that even if it's a day two case or a day three case, normally you should attribute up to 25% of the time of the case
Maximum.
towards writing, and that's the max. Like you shouldn't exceed that.
Yeah.
And like one tip, when you are reading the case, to read it within a time, within like that time, is that normally you'll see that there's numbers. Like in MA question, there's numbers, right? Now you know that when you will be attempting the case, you will anyway have to come back to it and go through each of the number. Okay, this is direct labor, this is the fixed overhead, variable overhead, and you get a chance to think about it. So when you are reading the case, I would say that just take a holistic look at the question. Okay, they're just asking me to calculate maybe the price of this product per unit. So you just like, and then you can just skim through, okay, labor, overheads, I know I have to add all of this, fixed cost is there, I have to allocate that, variable cost will be directly into units. So just that like quick skimming through, but not really, spending a lot of time in the numbers.
So adding on to that, say MA sort of questions where you have to get back to the question any which way.
Yes.
So why to spend that time then?
During the reading.
Yeah, so these are like time saving tips even while you're reading. But on her thumb rule, 25%. So even for a 80 minute, 25% comes to like 20 minutes, but like that's like tops. So you should ideally be aiming for 15, 16 minutes.
Yeah.
So like 20 to 25% of your time should go to the reading part, and balance generally have it in mind 10 minutes per AO.
Yeah, because you can't have like a fixed time in your head.
No.
So 10 minutes is like a ballpark
Very
good
ballpark,
number.
yeah.
You know, have 10 minutes in your head, but continue to keep like look at the watch. Like don't just like say, okay, I started at 12:20 and then you're just writing and then all
Yeah.
of a sudden when you take a look at the watch after you've finished, you'll see that, oh, I took 15 minutes, oh, I took 17 minutes. And this is something that happened with me personally because when Ravneet used to write, he used to keep looking at the watch in the middle. And I used to be like, why do you do that? I lose my focus when I try to look up and, you know, look at the watch to see what time is it. And then it kind of, scares me. But then that was the point. Because I was not looking at the watch, I never realized that I was exceeding times on AOs, and then eventually I just miss on questions.
So basically,
Then
you
I
learn
started
how to
doing
save
this.
time, right?
Yeah.
So like by writing, you learn how to save time. And before we go to day 2 times, just one thing here, everyone faces this issue or challenge. The first question more or less is financial reporting. Everybody, here on even on the call or otherwise, like feels that, okay, I have read enough financial reporting. I will attempt financial reporting first. They take it on themselves that I will, for sure, I will attempt financial reporting and do it well. You spend 22 minutes and your entire day 3 is out. You have to focus. 10 minutes is your ballpark. But yes, financial reporting generally takes some time extra.
Yeah.
So maybe 3 minutes extra, 4 minutes extra, not more than that.
Yeah.
So coming to the second part, like the day 2, again, 25% ballpark, 300 minutes, 25%.
Again, try to not look into
Yeah.
the quantitative numbers that much because then that will take a lot of time. Normally, day 2 questions are long, even if it's MA, they will be deep. There will be like complex calculations that they would be asking you. So if you like start getting into it during the reading time, it will take a lot of time.
A lot, yeah. So 75 minutes, 25% is like 75 minutes, and 75 minutes for day 2 is reasonable. People do start off even after 60, 65 minutes, you will see in the exam, but 65 to 75 minutes should be your target. And then what the balance is, your balance 75. So if we would do a very quick calc here. So say 75 minutes you use for reading, the balance is somewhat like 225. So that 225 minutes for 13 AOs here, also you generally, I used to keep 10 minutes in mind.
Yeah.
But because these are day 2 AOs and Guneet and me were discussing just before the call, day 2 is more of a depth exam. You need to show the CPM marker that you have depth, you have knowledge, that you are executing and integrating the case facts, which is why I would say 13-ish minutes, for
an
an
FA
FA.
AO.
But you would see, when you would start attempting day 2, or even if you already have like day 2, even one AO can take 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And that is
especially when they come to, if there's a revenue IFRS 15 AO in the exam, it will normally take a lot of time because like they will ask you on only one step of the 5 criteria, the 5 steps. They will ask you only one point, but then you have to kind of start with all the, like you have to talk about all the points and mention and integrate with case facts. So those questions can be long, there's no denial in that. But then again, the same thing that, if you just have to keep a ballpark number in mind, and 2-3 minutes here and there is fine, that's completely okay.
Yeah, I was doing a very quick calc, like 225 for 13 AOs is something like 17 minutes. So you need to make sure, because there could be some FA or MA questions which would take 22, 24 minutes. So that's 7 minutes you need to save up in assurance. Maybe in a WIR question, maybe in a procedure question. Once you start writing a couple of day 2 cases, you would know where it takes time and where you can save time, because in the end, your focus should be to attempt the maximum, AOs that you can.
But like on the same time, the like following that structure is equally important. For example, if you do a revenue AO and you just like did your, for example, issue gap analysis, you did up until analysis, but then you saw, oh, I'm at 15 minutes or I'm at 17 minutes now, so you just like leave it as it is and you move to the next question. You will get an RC considering everything else you did was correct. Now, why did you get an RC and not a C? It's because of the recommendation that you missed. So the structure is really important.
Really
Like I
important.
think yesterday also I had a question from one of the students that is it, necessary to follow the CPA structure, that they ask you to follow in the exams in
Yeah.
FAs. It is very important because if any of you has seen the feedback guides,
Yeah.
just try filling it on your own and you'll see that if you
Yeah.
miss the recommendation or financial impact, even if everything else you did good, you would still
Yeah.
get an RC, but not a C. And even if you were not able to complete your analysis, but you saved that 2 minutes at the end to just do the recommendation, write the recommendation, even if you weren't sure if it's correct or not, but you
Yeah.
did follow that step, you will still get a C.
Yeah.
And that is the
The
biggest
best part
thing.
about this. Yeah.
Yeah, like, and people don't know about it.
Yeah, like people would be just, writing or writing all the tax provisions or the, financial reporting provisions, linking facts, but they need to know that conclusion or recommendation is equally important.
Yeah.
So, that is where your debriefs of day two cases come into play as to even if, there would be a person who is, or a student, right, who is attempting and debriefing just 5 day two cases and he may clear. And there could be another one who is, just attempting 10 day two cases, but is not debriefing. You have to learn from things as to what is the CP Institute demanding it. That answer, Simranjit, I think that was a long answer, but
Yeah, thank you.
I hope you have answered
I
your
want to add on, like, are those cons to be like perfect? Like, I am not like good at solving. Sometimes I miss something, and sometimes I miss the other.
Yeah.
So, do they need to be like, 100% correct to get the C in day two, especially?
No, that's no, you don't have to do that. That's not practically possible for anybody to do.
Okay.
Also because there's a lot of like small parts in there. For example, if they give you like a question in MA, say to calculate price per unit, just a lame example, there could be like 7 items that they will give you which need to be added. Some of
Yeah.
it may be like a labor cost that it could be a complex business which says that it's seasonal and 2 months the labor is in and then they're not there, like things like that. Now this is something which will require you to kind of calculate, right? Like make some calculations, prorate it or whatever.
Yeah.
Now what any student would normally do is they would think, okay, now when I'm starting the MA calculation, I'll first crack this complex calculation down. I think it's like Indian mentality.
natural, yeah.
It's the Indian exam mentality that we feel that if
Yeah.
we do the tough part first, maybe we'll get 2 or 3 marks out of 10.
Yeah.
So that will at least like be good that at least we secure
Yeah.
3 marks. But it's not the case here. This is a different
Game.
game
Yeah.
altogether.
Yeah.
Our recommendation is that you start with the basic basic
the maximum
additions
points.
that you are seeing. Like if you see a material cost per unit, if
Yeah.
you see variable cost per unit,
Like the
if you
most
see
basic ones.
basic
Most
ones,
basic ones.
just start
Okay.
with that so that
Yeah.
you cover 5 steps out of 7.
Yeah.
Right? Like maybe in the calc of 7, maybe you are covering 5.
Yeah.
And then you know that the other 2 they will take you like a couple of minutes. So now assess the time.
Yeah.
If you feel like you are still left with
Some
4
time.
minutes of time where you can accommodate 2 minutes for conclusion, so you take one calc out of it and you do the explanation, like you
Yeah.
do the calc and put that calc in a note and explain it and
Yeah.
do it. Even if it's wrong, it doesn't matter. You just have to attempt it.
I just
Right.
want to clarify one thing here, that when we say that we should be, attempting the basic ones first and the complex ones later, we are saying about prioritization.
Yeah.
We are not saying
That you don't have
you
to
do not
do it
have to do
altogether.
that.
If you get time, you should.
Yeah, you totally should. And one of the objectives, when you would read the board reports, it is also that, if the student attempted this particular portion or not. But at the same time, when time is scarce, you should be prioritizing those. So it is about priority here. We are not saying you should leave, just prioritize. And then whatever time is left, you attempt according to that.
Yeah, but it's the same like India's step marking. If there's 7 components to that question, it's not that if you don't do 7 and you arrive at the exact answer that is in the key, then you will not, you will not pass or you'll not get the good marks in that
Yeah.
particular year. It's not that. It's just that it's like step marking we used to have in India, that the number of steps you cover, you'll get the points. So it's just that.
Mhm.
Okay. And like for day one, we have to give the recommendations for, every option. And then we also have to give the overall recommendation at the end.
Yeah.
So, can we just copy and paste those recommendations given with the strategic options in the end? Or
Mhm.
we have to make the modifications and we can just.
You have to paraphrase, so that cannot be a copy paste. You need to
Okay.
show that you are. So, why is the overall conclusion? You need to understand the objective. That considering all now project A in the first, project B in C. So you said you in AO1 you said project A we want to do, B also we want to do, but C and D we don't want to do independently.
Yeah.
But why the overall conclusion is there is whether all of those four AOs, right, or the situations that you have, do they marry amongst each other? So and then
Considering the overall financials of the
financials.
company.
Yeah, financials. Like there could be constraint about
Yeah.
funds, but you want to do A, but you may not, be actually be able to do A. So which is where, there is a hidden AO also sometimes. So, to answer your question, so you cannot copy paste. You need to, integrate all the situations together. Also see if there is any hidden AO, because normally there are like four situations. Analyze whether there is any hidden AO, do that, and then do the overall conclusion. And in the overall conclusion, it is like the first thing, it is main about the priority of the projects, which project you want to do first. So chronology of the projects matter, could be that you want to do B first, A second, and then not do C, and but do D. So you have to sync up
Kind
things.
of, like when you're independently assessing a project, that is only on quantitative and qualitative factors that, okay, you reach to a conclusion that, okay, I want to do project A, right? But then, for example, say that a student says that for all the four projects, he decides that he wants to go forward with them. But then this was the case in September, day one, like the one that we wrote, that the fifth hidden AO was actually the funding, like Ravneet said. So what happened is for all the students who said maybe yes to three AOs or four AOs out of all the four ones that were in question, now, hidden here was that you have to analyze that on an overall, if the company has this much cash balance and from an LOC, they can only take, this limit of balance. Now you have to understand that, or basically you have to present that will the company be able to, like finance all four that
Yeah.
you've independently suggested? If not, then there comes your like, oh, that basis all of this is your overall recommendation that, independently we said that, okay, this is the pros, this is the cons, and we decided to go ahead.
Yeah.
But on an overall company-wide level, we feel that maybe we should not continue with, or we should not do project D or project B or things like that. So it will be on the same lines as your independent conclusions, but obviously there has to be some additional value add that you have to put in the overall recommendation.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
No
Thanks for your
problem.
questions. And anybody else has a question or want to go next?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi,
Hi,
Anna.
Anna. How are you doing?
Hi. Yeah, good. How are you guys?
Good,
Yeah,
good.
doing
All
well.
well. How's it
Yeah.
going?
Yeah, good. Like just 20 days and like,
Mhm.
yeah,
I
counting
Yeah.
days.
Yeah.
Yeah, so from experience, like, I'm not worried about day three, but having said that, last attempt I practiced a lot of the day three cases, which is why like I got really comfortable with the time allocation and everything. So when I was going, I really knew like I have to stick to my time allocation. So in all the 3 days, I did not face time challenges. Like I did not leave a single AO,
Yeah.
be it day one, two, or three.
Nice.
But now having seen day two, so like only specific to day two, I want to like change a bit of my strategy. Like we have 13 AOs.
Yeah.
So in my mind, I think of procedures as part of FR.
Yeah.
So in my mind, I think of it as like 12 AOs.
Yeah.
So I've split my time in like 20 minutes per AO.
Yeah.
So that's 240 minutes.
Yeah.
And then 45 minutes of reading, 45 to 50.
Yeah.
and then 5 to 10 minutes buffer, or like structuring the word or all of
Yeah.
that. So like, is this okay? Because like I'm not sticking to 20 exactly.
Yeah.
I'm as I'm writing, I'm going about it because I'm attempting assurance first. So there are questions like procedures or WIR that gets done early.
Yeah.
So
12
that
minutes.
way I'm getting, yeah, that way I'm giving more time to FR. But like this is something I also did last time. So
Yeah.
in my mind, it's like a fear of what's enough. And like I'm also telling myself that the case that came up was not something I was comfortable with.
Yeah.
Um, be it ASPE or IFRS, it really doesn't matter. But
Yeah.
like in my mind, it's like the fear of like again going and writing day two and not being enough. So that's
Yeah.
I'm just looking for some comforting words here. That's it.
Just one follow-up question before we answer this. So do like we have checked a couple of your cases. So for day two, are you able to read between 45 to 50 minutes?
Yeah, I did that in my last attempt also. I'm able
That's
to stick to 45
that's
because
nice.
like you were suggesting something right now to not go on reading the
Yeah.
appendixes that have numbers.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I don't do that because we anyway, when we attempt that MOAO, MAAO, we anyway have to like, again look at those numbers. So
Yeah,
I,
but when we say that don't read the numbers, it's only, numbers normally given in tabular form or something.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
not that like skip appendix.
No, no. I skim through it, so I know what
Yeah,
the
That's nice.
MAAO
yeah,
is all about.
that's good.
But like, our like you're talking about our CA exams back in India, our mind goes to quickly calculating it there and
Yeah,
then,
Yeah.
exactly.
but not stopping there and doing that,
Yeah.
but just quickly like just passing, because our assurance appendixes are towards the later part of the case and we have to really focus on that too.
Yeah,
So I'm able to achieve that 45 minutes because I've practiced it like this.
Yeah.
And
okay.
like over the past 2 months, I have, because I know my focus is assurance and FR,
Yeah.
over the past 2 months, I've focused on writing individual FR and AO assurance AOs in 15 minutes. Like,
Oh, that's
yeah,
nice.
I've practiced like individual AOs.
Okay.
And like, this is to everyone who's listening. Like, if we do that, it is really helpful. Like, that has helped me cumulatively writing day two for like these two cases that I've just written.
Yeah, that's a
So
really nice tip. Yeah.
that has helped me uh, in the time that I want to.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I also give, like, as soon as I'm done reading the case, I just structure the word in the 12 in the 13 AOs. And for the FRAOs, I just copy issue, gap, recommendation, impact, just copy it 4 times, three to 4 times,
Yeah.
and I just get the structure ready. So I'm just looking for like those comforting words from you
I
guys.
think,
Just
yeah.
one question, Anna, that like in the previous attempt, what was it that you missed out on day two and day three? What was it, depth or was it
It
or was
was
it
depth. It was like depth in, like, it was level 2 and 3, and because of this, level 1, of course.
okay?
Okay.
Okay.
So I cleared level 4 in totality, like
Yeah.
day 3,
Yeah.
but not level 1, 2, and 3.
Got
Okay.
it. So see, because we have been, reviewing your cases also specifically. And this is your, second. So I would say, because I know your case personally, so I can, comment specifically on your case. It is that you are able to focus and you are able to, follow all the structure. You know, IGA, when you have to attempt assurance procedures, you need to follow the RAP strategy. And when you are doing WIR, you need to do that, you always need to focus on the impact. And even in procedures, one thing which many people, fail to do, but you have been doing that when you are writing a procedure, you need to focus on the why. Like
Yeah.
you need to obtain a debt confirmation, but why you need to obtain that is the focus. I think you know the focus area. Last time, I would say, we didn't mark your cases specifically, but I can, say because it is a matter of chance. There are some times where you're not able to manage the time well, or sometimes, the things do not, time well. So, but still, as a general advice, Uh, I think just following this, whatever you have been doing in the TMB case, TMB limited case as well, just following the structure, in terms of time management you are doing, like the fact that you put out, your time management is really good. I used to read a day two case in 70 minutes. So you are,
I started from there.
oh,
But
that's,
in our
wow.
coffee chats, in the prior attempt in our coffee
Yeah,
chats, you guys mentioned that, I think Guneet started putting
that's
this
true.
cap of 45 to 50 minutes.
Yeah.
And after that, I started doing that because ultimately we need to go back and read those appendix again while writing the cases,
Yeah.
right?
So
So,
you have the advantage of 20 minutes already.
yeah.
I didn't have even until the time I was attempting. So that is really appreciable. In terms of time management, you have allocated 20 minutes. I would say try to go a bit easy on assurance. I know, you have a lot of time, seemingly, but still try to go a little easy on assurance. FR any day, there could be like AOs which can take a number of minutes.
Yeah.
So there would be AOs, at least two, which would take 30-ish minutes. And you have to
In
balance out.
September, it
Mhm.
was like business combination and then ESOPs. And I was like, why is this happening? Like,
I know. Yeah.
and then we did assurance first, but then we had to do the materiality calculation, right? I was like,
Yeah.
why is this happening?
And like this point, Guneet keeps on saying time and again, when you know your assurance is out and you have done the assurance rightly, even if FR or MA or one of those goes wrong, a couple of questions do go wrong, you have a day three to cover.
D3,
Right?
yes.
We should not be eyeing for that, but you have
Yeah.
day three to cover. But you are on the right approach that you have been focusing on the assurance part.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
just like one thing that I want to add on here is that like for depth, I understand that depth is missing. Depth might be missing, and this is something that most people, like most students, don't realize because like you're doing FR on day two also and day three also. So the biggest differentiator on day two and day three is that when you are doing FR on day two, normally you would realize that yourself also that the questions will be a little complex and a little in depth. And
Yeah.
whereas if you will go to day three FR questions, they will be on a complex or like, a different unique point, but it
Yeah.
will be very plain and simple. Like
Yeah.
you'll just in your head know that, okay, I have to apply the definition or just the recognition criteria and this is it. Like
Yeah.
I'll just conclude.
Yeah.
They will be small.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
when it's FR and, in depth to make sure that you're not missing out on the depth because that is what you're being assessed on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, the point here is that I think by now you've attended a lot of our coffee chats and you'd know that we always mention that it's not the conclusion that you reach to, if that's correct, it will give you a
Yeah.
C,
Hmm.
or if it's incorrect, it will not give you a C. That's not the case. We know
Yeah.
that it's the structure, it's the way you attempt the exam that will decide if you get a C or if you don't get a C in that question.
Yeah.
So the only reason I feel that, if the depth was missing, and it is something that is missing for normally people who do
Yeah.
not clear in the first attempt,
Hmm.
I would like strongly suggest that now that we have only like 2 weeks, less than 2 weeks
Yeah.
around, left for the exam, now
Hmm.
it's the best time to get a hang of nausea.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
by get a hang of nausea, we mean that just open nausea, just skim through that there's this index pane
Yeah.
on the left for
Hmm.
ASPE and IFRS. Just
Yeah.
go through that, right? And by going through, I mean that, if you're at the revenue, if you open the revenue IFRS, go to the
Hmm.
revenue, see what panes it has. Like by panes in the left, see there's a measurement, there's a
Yeah.
step, like not like directly steps, but there'll be steps in, not in a sequence, but like here and there, there's steps that the five
Yeah.
steps that we follow. By that, what happens is that you should be very comfortable on nausea, knowing that if you get, like, for example, if you don't get a five-step question from FA, but if you get a question on, say, bill and hold arrangement.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
bill and hold is something that you won't get on the pane directly. Like,
Yeah.
it is something that you should know where it is in the nausea, only then you will be able to find
Yeah.
it because the time is already so crunched.
Yeah.
Now, I
True.
know that we was talking about this because like when we're doing the case markings from the FA, we can tell the students who've gotten our course because it's that It's
Yeah.
that it
It is
stands
very
out,
visible.
Yeah.
it's very
Yeah.
visible. But what we've seen is
We
that,
write those lines very clearly that
yes,
are there
yes,
in the notes.
I know
Yeah.
that's a good thing. Like
Mhm.
we say that's a
Yeah,
good thing,
that's
but
good.
in day two, we'd still, want students to get that from nausea.
Yes.
And why we say this is because obviously we can rephrase in day two and have a quick answer, right off the bat. But then where's the depth,
Yeah, true.
right? Because if it's a
Because like if you're copying, so one, just to clarify here, we don't want you to copy
yeah,
all the ones,
Yeah, yeah.
but the
Just the
ones which can, save up your time.
yeah,
So if writing the conditions or copying the conditions, if copying conditions saves more time, so you should go for it, and you should know before entering the exam that
Yeah.
these are the AOs, could be intangible assets, technical feasibility, six criteria,
yeah.
revenue recognition, may or may not, or maybe specific instances. So
Or
you should
maybe
know.
financial instruments. Like these are the topics which
Yeah.
will normally be tested on
Yeah.
day two. So you should like have those
Have those
ready in your head that, okay, if these questions come, this is where I'm going in
And
on.
when
Yeah.
you would have those
Yeah.
conditions like copied, then it is like relatively easier for you to,
Integrate.
integrate and,
Integrate.
just write the facts and say met or
Yeah.
not met.
And this is where
Yeah.
depth comes in.
Yeah.
They are not assessing you on the technicals.
Yeah.
They are assessing you on the
Integration.
integration you're making.
How you are
If you,
interpreting those facts,
if you
right?
spend all your time writing the gap,
Yeah.
Yeah.
that won't matter as much
No.
if you are spending that time integrating each and every pointer.
Points.
And because there's case facts scattered all over the case in day two,
Yeah.
and they want you to pick those case facts from different pages.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if you are able to do that well, I think then nobody can stop you from
Yeah.
getting a C.
Totally.
Yeah.
So this is
Yeah.
a very important point. Instead of flaunting the technicals that
Mm.
it's better that you invest that time in integration.
So like we are reiterating here, not to take questions that you know on your ego.
Yeah.
Focus
No,
on the
of course.
time management. And just one tip for you, Anna, although you have been doing very good, like you have around 2 to 3 weeks. So whatever you have learned in the last couple of months in terms of could be learnings from day two, day three, could be our videos, anything. Try to go through all of that,
Revise.
Yeah.
because it is very natural. Whatever you have learned, that will fall
Mm.
out if you do not
Yeah.
revise by the time exams reach. So, and try to save a cup, maybe 1 day two and 2 day threes, for
Yeah.
like which you can attempt maybe say
in
13th,
in the
14th,
last week
like
Yeah.
last week, like maybe 3 to 4 days before, something like that, just to have a
Yeah.
flow of things. So
Yeah.
yeah, just
Thankfully, I've got like 2 weeks off. I've requested them,
oh,
please
that's
give it
nice.
to me
That's
again.
but you'll be
But
good,
yeah.
girl.
You should be
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
But no, I've
Just be confident.
I've noted this difference in my assurance AOs, like prior attempt and this attempt. I have like if I go in detail, like in my responses last attempt, in procedures, I never used to write assertions.
Yeah, and that's
Yeah.
very important.
Yeah. Yeah, so now I'm writing that. And then in
Nice.
my when we figure out like, factors that increase the risk, and then like integrating so many facts to conclude on which approach to follow.
Yeah.
Like I have really like in my mind I know what factors, and I've tried to master those responses, because that is always coming up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, nice.
So
And just one more tip for the larger group, even and it applies to day two and day three. I used to tell this to Ravneet because he would sometimes miss it. But whenever there's an MA question, normally we would think that if it's MA, it's only numericals. Now
yeah,
that is not true. You have to see, there will be times that you will see qualitative factors or
yeah,
qualitative facts given in the case.
Yeah.
It can be day two and it can be day three. Sometimes it's possible that you only see like one or two, and then you tend to ignore that. Okay, maybe, yeah, it impacts the MA question or, the decision that they're talking about in the MA question, but maybe, I'll skip that. It's not
Yeah.
that important.
Yeah.
That is what is important.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
maybe segregate, do the quantitative, give a
and then
conclusion maybe, but also do a qualitative. This applies
yeah,
to day two and day three.
day
Yeah.
three.
Again,
And I've noticed it's always done in like a pros and cons form, like
exactly.
majorly
Yeah.
done in a
It's
pros and
it's done in day three, mostly it's done.
yeah,
But again, the difference being that when you're doing it in day two, you can afford to write, a couple of sentences. But when in day three, you have to be mindful that you just do it like, very smartly, like you don't spend a
Yeah.
lot of
Lot of
time
time.
writing that sentence because it's qualitative, so you tend to kind of,
Go into
Yeah.
go all over the place.
yeah.
But,
Yeah.
but it's very important that you mention those qualitative factors and then give them weightage in your recommendation. I think like these are factors that again counter the depth part.
The depth is. And also, like, I've noticed that when I'm writing procedures or when I'm writing like WIR and then recommendations, I am I'm more inclined towards writing sentences to put
Yeah.
out my point across very. And when I'm seeing strong responses, it's written
Yeah.
very straightforwardly.
To the point, yeah.
Like they don't
So
focus on grammar. So
Yeah,
yeah,
you
you just
don't beat around
for
the
us,
thing.
if we have to save time, then does that count? Like, or we should just stick to writing like sentences and
no, I
trying
think
to.
so. One of the suggestions that I, give all the time for WIR is if you are following a table approach, that is best. It will
Yeah.
automatically, you will go into a very
Crisp.
succinct mode.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you will be presenting better and writing less sentences. And at the
Yeah, I
same
think
time,
like I did that for one of the MA questions. Like I explained the variances, favorable, unfavorable.
yeah,
I think
yeah,
yeah, we can do it
those are
then for
good.
WIR.
Yeah. So tables
So
are good.
that'll help.
Yeah.
Tables are good. Okay. Sounds good.
Thanks.
Yeah, sounds good. Thank you guys.
Yeah, no
No
worries.
problem.
Anyone else has any questions? Yeah.
Hi guys, can I talk next?
Yeah.
How are
Uh,
you guys doing?
Is
is
that
Dashmeet?
Dashmeet?
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah. Right.
we're doing well. Dashmeet, how are you?
Yeah, doing well as well. I have like a couple of questions, few basic ones, and like one of them I already forwarded to Ravneet. I guess related to the tax amendments on CCS
Sure.
specifically, and if any other updates that are required for us to know for our attempt. But then, other than this question, I also have a couple of like preliminary questions.
Sure.
First is with regard to the time management because I know Ravneet checked my paper. I'm not sure if Guneet also looked into it, but then yeah, I'm struggling with the time management thing because I don't know. I have a habit of writing responses perfectly, so I do not miss the depth. But it's just I like take some more time. I just feel like explaining more, and that is where I like time. So I just would want you guys to just tell us about the ideal timeline of like reading paper and then how much time to allocate to each AO, like subject wise for day 2 and day 3, both.
Uh, that's a repeat question. I am supposing that you joined a bit late. Is that right?
Yeah, I
Maybe.
joined. Yeah, I joined a couple of minutes late.
Yeah, so I can do a quick summary, and maybe once we share the recorded video, you can because we discussed this like 15-20 minutes, but I can give a
I'm
quick
sorry.
summary for day two and day three both. 25% should be the reading time. For day two, it's like 300 minutes. 25% comes to 75 minutes. So 75 minutes should be like your reading time. 65 to 75 says 75 minutes. Sorry, should be your reading time, and the balance 225 minutes for 13 AOs comes to like 17 minutes per AO. So I really try to spend around 17-18 minutes, but yes, financial reporting AO would take say 24-25 minutes. So you need to set off that extra time by writing the assurance AOs faster, so like something like that. Even Anna was mentioning that she reads the case in 45-50 minutes, so like you have more time for the that 17 minutes goes to 20 minutes. Like you have more time for all the AOs. So, but generally speaking, it's like between 70 to 20 minutes for all the AOs. And try to write assurance first. That is one of our advices that we give always. Like try to, complete all the assurance AOs and then move towards financial reporting and management accounting.
Yeah.
Similarly, for day three, consider a 80-minute case, 25% comes to like 15 minutes, or
15-20
15
minutes.
20. But for day three, generally you need to be faster, so go for 15 minutes
Yeah.
time frame. And then for the balance, consider there are like 6 AOs, so 10 minutes each for all the AOs, so that's like 60 plus 15 75, and like 5 minutes can go here or there. So that is a very ballpark thing that we
Yeah.
use
But
for.
in the reading, we were just like we mentioned like earlier that it's important that if it's possible for you, when you see in the case that there's quants, there's tables like direct quants, just skim through that because you anyway have to come back to it when you attempt that AO and you have to look into
Yeah.
those numbers again. So save on those during your reading time so that you don't like end up spending 5 minutes every time, like, you're reading the exam.
Yeah.
And then writing again and spending that time again on that same question. So, just when you're reading, just take like a holistic view of what is it in there in that like MA or finance question, and just like move on to the next, knowing and stopping there and knowing that, okay, I have to come back at it and then I'll spend those 2 minutes. So that ways you'll be able to finish your reading, maybe say 5-10 minutes, whatever earlier, and then you can have that time for actually writing the AOs.
Yeah.
So, like the earlier you finish reading, the more time you get for writing. And I think that's any day a better spot to be in.
And what was your
Right.
next question?
Sorry, just to follow up on this question. So you guys would suggest spending like 17 minutes for MA AOs as well for day two?
So just to add again, so like, when we say 25% reading, so that's 75 minutes out. So like that 225 minutes for 13 AOs averagely comes out to 17 minutes, right? Like just plain maths. But management accounting and financial reporting tend to, take more time. Could be like 20, 25 minutes, 28 minutes. Sometimes it could also take you 30 minutes.
And sometimes, if it's an MA question that you're not really sure of, or you don't know the whole thing, you can end up spending a lot less time. So like the point is that the 15-17 minute that we're saying, it's just like a ballpark number to have in your head that
Yeah.
I'm anyway, like, not going beyond the 15-17 minutes. But a catch here that if you attempt assurance first, you're already done with half of your exam. Now, like obviously keeping that 15 minutes in mind. Now, say you've done with the assurance part in full, and now you're moving on to FA and MA. You know that you have 6 questions left. It's normally 6 questions, right? So you have 6 questions left. You take a look at the watch, and then you can reassess based on the time that you have, and the complexity of the question. Like in our attempt, the MA question we had was a little difficult. So I already knew that, this is something I don't know. And it was ratios. So I was not sure because I didn't know the ratio. I knew that even if I attempted, it can go wrong, right? So I attempted the MA question, but I didn't leave 15 minutes for it because I knew that I'll anyway not get a C. So I'll maybe not aim for a NA. I'll maybe try if I can get an RC or something like that. So I spent maybe a little more time on FA. But then, so basically just like 15 minutes as a ballpark in your head, and then you just reassess while
And
you're
also try to
attempting.
save time on assurance AOs. Assurance AOs should take ideally lesser time. There would be at least 2 AOs that should take 10 minutes. So there you save 8 minutes each. So you have 15 minutes with you, which now you can use maybe for financial reporting, maybe for MA. So this is how it goes, and this is how you would learn, like until the time you are, preparing for the exams or writing a couple of more day twos. Try to see how much time each AO is consuming, and you would surely see that there would be one financial reporting AO which is taking 40 minutes. So like that is not done. So you need to know where you need to stop. So, when that is what debrief or, learning is. And, once you cover the first part of this call as well, so you would, learn more as to how you can, try to save up time there.
And one more thing on the thing that you said earlier, Dashmeet, that you don't move on from responses until you've like made it perfect. That was the same thing with me, like exactly same thing. You wouldn't even believe that when I used to write or do calculations in Excel, I used to actually do formatting because I think audit background, I don't know, but I was just so used to perfectionism, even in the Word file, even like in Excel. And like Ravneet once checked my exam and he's like, why are you spending, like 2-3 minutes
Same was the
beautifying
case.
it?
Like same was the case with me earlier, but then with experiences, I've learned that.
Yeah.
Like
So
I'll be
there,
very honest, like when we check cases, there is one response which looks beautiful. Then there is another response which is so haywire. But when you reach the end and you see the response which was haywire, didn't have any grammar, was not presented so well, that got in the entire, like out of 7 AOs, say they got like that guy got like 5 C's. And in the beautified response, out of 7 questions, first you could attempt only 5, and then out of those 5 you focus just on 2 or 3. So that is we can adopt this beautifying approach in our real lives. Obviously we need to prepare things that we need to deliver to clients, but try avoiding that approach here. Like that is what,
Yeah, so like it
Puneet
took me
is
some
doing.
time and mentality to, see that, okay, like there would be times that I'd made a grammatical error and I would have that urge to, go back and correct it. But then like you just have to
Learn it, yeah.
learn and like create that mentality that
Like this is
I
very temporary,
know
yeah.
and I can see that things are wrong, but I can't go back to them because
Yeah.
if I do, I will not pass.
Like this was just being discussed for like WIR. Do you need to write sentences, or you can, just maybe use 10 words, 12 words, and rather than, writing 2.5 lines, because everything takes time.
Yeah. And it was like the same thing I used to do in WIR also. I used to start with the weakness. It is given in the case that Mr. X did in this. So this implies that there is a control weakness or like whatever.
Yeah.
Point being that I used to basically duplicate and paraphrase what was given in the case.
Yeah.
But then when I also went through strong responses, just like Anna, you said, I also realized that the guy didn't like beat around the bush. He just went straight into the point that
Yeah.
there's this weakness that there's no segregation of duties, for example.
Yeah.
Like he'll just say like that. And whereas if I am writing, I will explain the whole thing. So I think that is what I learned, that these are little places that you actually save time, right? You don't have to be this elaborate and
Yeah.
this particular on how things are looking.
So on this, Dashmeet, we will also share again a strong response of, what a strong response looks like. When we say strong response, is the response which has gotten more C's. So just have a look. So why you need to look is, if this sort of response can get C, why can't you? So,
Yeah.
so this is the objective, that even these sort of responses can get C's. But then when you look at it, you need to see as to why this guy got a C. Because he followed the format. He hit all the points. He did that conclusion. When you are discussing intangible assets, he didn't directly go to recognition. He also discussed definition.
Yeah.
So, you need to analyze that case. So I will share this case again. I think we shared a couple of cases last time around. So I'll, share those again just for the wider group again. Yeah.
Yeah, sounds good. Thank you, guys. And also, there's one more important question in terms of like strategizing. So, when it comes to day two, of course, we need to score as many C's as possible for the role areas as well as FRMA. But then, should we target, accumulating C's for these subjects in day three as well? Because, like, reason being, MA takes a lot of time in day three. Like FR and audit are comparatively quite easier, and even if you just write the recognition definition and follow that format, you are still able to manage time and score C. And then MA consumes a lot of time. So what should be the strategy? Like, should you think of collecting RCs only in these, or
So first, you never know how your day two went.
Exactly.
Second is, when you move to day three, you should be attempting it as a separate day. Don't focus on anything. And relatively, day threes should be relatively easier if just follow the format. And by the nature of it, day three questions won't be very descriptive. Like you won't get a question which takes you 30 minutes.
But like here, like Dashmeet, what I'll say is that you can't wire your mind to think that this is what I'm doing, I'll get a C. If this is how I'm doing it, I'll get an RC. You never know what's in the feedback guide,
Yeah.
right? You can't predict. Your only mindset should be that you're like basically following the structure. If
Yeah.
it's day two, you are going into deep. If it's day three, you know that you don't have to go, that into depth, but you can't like think of the result and like respond accordingly.
Yeah.
And then think that, okay, if it's day two and if I'm doing FR but I'm not able to get it, maybe I get a chance in day three also for FR. So maybe today I can take it lightly. Like I'm just giving an example. Like you can't think like that. You just have to do your best with what you have, and then the rest is
And like one of the students
the
was
results. Yeah.
discussing today, so consider you do not like business combination and you got a couple of questions of business combination on day two. What
Yeah.
now? What do you now do now? Because now next day you would be just be focusing on collecting C's, and then you may lose out on breadth. So we have so many students here who cleared everything. Everything was a checkbox except tax. Why? Because perhaps they didn't have time. Perhaps they took it lightly, thought that they can afford to, just ignore tax at all. And just because of tax, like those three tax basic questions, they, flunk the exam. So you need to see what day two is about. Day two is about depth and focusing, getting that assurance out as your depth, plus getting a couple of C's on financial reporting and MA. What is day three about? Day three is about breadth, attaining breadth. So when we say breadth, you need to hit strategy and governance. Like, say you have three questions, you need to attempt, or basically, get a RC in a couple of them. Similarly for tax, like they want to see whether you as a CPA are a breath equipped person or not. Like if you do not know tax, they don't want to clear you out. As simple as that. You need to understand the objective.
No. So the question was basically with respect to the role and the role area and the FRMA subjects. So the thought, like understanding your response to my question, I think that you guys are trying to say that basically we should target as many C's as possible in these subjects over both the days, right?
Yeah, even simplifying, like more simpler version is try to focus, go for the structure, go for the process, like focus on the process, don't focus on the result. RC or C, you don't know.
Mhm.
So
No,
you,
it's just that when you solve a question, particularly on day three, and for example, you get a FRAO, which is a bit more complicated. So therein, like you have to, of course, manage your time and
yeah,
allocate
yeah,
some more
sure.
time with the objective of getting C. So that's what I'm trying to ask. That if you are clear in your head that you're aiming for RC, like for example, you would of course devote less time to that. You right?
Yeah, no, then
No.
you should go with the objective that you have to get C's in every AO that you're attempting
Yeah.
and just
Like,
give your
yeah,
best.
if you want to wire, we don't want any wires,
Even in like
just
SNG
for the wider
taxation
group.
on.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah,
Like
even
just
in
for the
tax.
wider group, we don't want any wires here to be created in your mind, like you need to get C's or RC's. But still, if you want to wire yourself, wire for C's.
Yeah, C's.
Yeah.
C's
Okay.
all the way.
Because we would never say you target RC's and you target C's
Yeah,
there.
because nobody knows how many RCs is enough or how many C's is enough, then obviously you should work for
Like
C's.
for both of us, management accounting was relatively an easier subject. In our attempt, management accounting was the complex of complex variances, variance analysis that came, we were not able to attempt. What now? What do you do? So you need to be prepared for different situations.
Yeah.
Just follow the process and you should be okay.
Yeah, makes sense. Thank you, guys. And just the last question related to the amendments in like any
Yeah.
of the
Yeah.
subjects and the tax amendment.
Yeah, so like we have received this question, and in fact, I think Pearl is also on the call. So a couple of more students also, had this question, that there have been some changes in the tax recently on AII, and do the like the limits remain the same as last year or not? So what we were thinking, now that the tax season is also away, and so we would just prepare a small compiler which we can share with the group, may or not, like we will just see. And then, you should have your answers there. So it should not be a very, very big compiler, just the basic amendments or changes which have taken place. So yeah, this should be like a next week thing.
Okay, I guess the amendments are only in the taxation subject, right? Not in.
Yeah, that's right. That's
Okay.
right. Like even in tax, it's not huge.
Okay, got it. Yeah, thank you so much, guys, for answering all the questions.
No,
No
no problem.
Thanks for the help.
Yeah, no problem.
Hi guys. Hi Ronit, how are you, Ronit? I have a few. I'm Pearl. Sorry.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, Pearl.
Hi. I just had like a few logistical questions actually. So when you say that spend 10 minutes or say 17 minutes on time, so when I'm practicing, it's becoming very difficult for me to keep track of time because I don't remember the time when I start a AO. And then by the time I finish it, even if I've noted down the time when I started it for my practice, I forget to sometimes, note down the time when I ended the AO. So like, how did you guys keep track
Yes.
of time?
So do not, so how do I say this? So
Also, I'm using my phone to time myself, and maybe
don't
I'm
do
now
that.
realizing maybe I
Yeah.
shouldn't.
Don't do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Take a watch.
Yeah.
And we went to different extremes as well. Like the exam
Mm.
starts at 9, ends up
Mhm.
at 1 on day, like 1 p.m. and 2 p.m. on day 2. So we did start off at 9. So this is, we are digressing, but we did a couple of exams which started at 9, ended at 2. How does your mind play then, right?
Yeah.
You should know by your mind. So it's more of a mind thing. But yeah, maybe to start off, even if you do not know how much time you have spent, so like the next question, or sorry, the next case study that you attempt, at least you can note the time, like you started at
Yeah.
your reading and it ended at 9:40, and and then you can and then calculate in the end. So if not during the exam,
Yeah.
when you
Mhm.
So
attempting
you will get a rough, like a notes page
notes.
in the exam,
Okay. Yeah.
right? So for the exam, and when you're practicing, you can any day, you're practicing on your laptop, but I would still suggest that you keep a watch with you. And then what you can do is, like Ravneet used to do this. I just looked at the watch and I would remember that, okay, 10 minutes and 15 minutes. But then for Ravneet, he used to note with a pencil on the paper that, okay, and not that he used to like write that question one, this, nothing like that, just time. 9:40, okay, when he's starting with the next, maybe 10, next
Yeah.
11. And that way is like by the sequence of the questions, he would know when he was debriefing that, okay, this question in FR took me 20 minutes. So now,
Mm-hmm.
this is where my weakness is. So I
Yeah.
need to
And
work
that
on
could be
this.
very consistent depending on
Right.
student to student.
Yeah.
My weakness was attempting FR AOs in 40 minutes. You have to cut down
Okay.
the time to 25 minutes. How you do that, that is something you will learn.
Right. Right. Secondly, recently I was like, recently I did two cases. One was a D2 case, which had like a non-monetary transaction AO on FR. Okay. So that takes some time because you need to explain commercial substance and whether or not the fair values are measurable. And the
Yeah.
next day, when I was doing like a day 3 AO,
Yeah.
I felt like it was a non-monetary transaction AO on FR again. But then I told myself, no, that can't be the case because it's such a long thing and it's probably property, plant, and equipment. And then I went ahead with that. Then when I looked at the marking guide, it actually was non-monetary transaction. So that surprised me that how am I expected to take that much time on a day 3 case, and I'm excited to write that because I know that I am
You
right
feel
over
good. I know
here.
this. I can do this.
Yeah, I know this. So if I go ahead with it, I'm going to get those marks. But then I just need some help, maybe structuring how to approach an FR question on day 2 and day 3, even if it's like the same topic.
Okay. So non-monetary, generally speaking,
Mm-hmm.
should be a very plain. I know that you are saying, we can take it offline as well, but just
Yeah.
generalizing for everyone, like
Mm-hmm.
non-monetary is generally a very plain financial reporting standard. So, and I recall that you are a financial reporting student as well.
What do you mean?
So basically, have you taken a crash course on financial reporting as
Oh,
well?
yes, yes, yes.
Yes. So, like, if you would, recall those summary notes. So, it's non-monetary we have covered just in a couple of pages, and you
Mm-hmm.
have those conditions very handy. So, I think, like, I can specifically review if you want to, send the snippet of your particular response, why you feel that it is more descriptive. But what I can imagine already is that you would have integrated more with the case because
Yes.
like, yeah, right. So, like, the provisions in itself are not much, but you would have integrated more because again, like, not ego per se, but
Mhm.
about the case, and you want to do this right. So by the nature of it, you have to keep your day 3 succinct, just
Mm.
focus. So Guneet keeps on mentioning this, like day 3 is a depth, day 3 is depth, sorry,
Yeah.
breadth,
Day 3
yeah,
is
like
Right. Yeah.
like day 3 is breadth. So all you need to do, very general thing that I'm saying here, just focus on the structure, say non-monetary, mention those two conditions, or 2 or 3 conditions, link in as summary way as possible, like 1.5 lines, like, not a general rule, but just saying,
Yeah.
just try to link. Do not enter your emotions there. Just try to be concise,
Right.
and that's your issue. Start with issue, then your gap, then your analysis, and do the recommendation.
Yeah.
Try to finish in 13 minutes. So how you finish in 13 minutes is your thing.
Yeah.
And then going to Guneet's point again, could say you have the similar question in day two as well. That is the time. By the nature of it, again, day two questions tend to be generally could be a case that day two and day three could be similar questions, but by the nature of it,
There
those
should be some
require more
complexity in
analysis.
there.
Yeah, like
Right.
talking about revenue recognition, there would be distinct goods. So
Mm-hmm.
when I saw a case recently, I can comment. So distinct goods. So say a question comes on distinct goods. Could be a case that when you are following day three, you write all the 5 steps for revenue recognition, but you focus only on the distinct goods in a bit description. But when you are writing
Mm-hmm.
day two, you have to follow all the steps, but also
Yeah.
describe in detail as to, why all those steps are getting fulfilled. Like it is very
Yeah.
subjective here.
And then, like I think that this happened to me once, that when I was doing the case, all my conclusions were actually going to that it's not distinct. And then
Right.
I would think that, oh, if it's a day two case and if I say that it's not distinct, then what is it in day two that I'm doing for depth, right? So I just
Yeah.
I forcefully do it as a non.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So
So
you know the answer and you want to make it
yeah.
Yeah.
But
that way. Okay.
so Paul, like my thinking on this
Mm.
is that and it could be wrong, it's subjective,
Mm.
right? Like the way I think about it is that if it's a question in day two, I
Yeah.
should be writing more, right? So
Yeah.
the way you said that you will start with your definitions
Yeah.
and criteria. And this is what I was telling Anna also, that if it's a day two case, make sure you're getting your gap from the nausea. That
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
can bring in definitions,
Yeah.
you can do your case integration, you can integrate
Mhm.
definition also. If you are paraphrasing it from your memory yourself,
That
it
would
is
be
good
very
again
limited.
because I get it that you guys remember definitions, you remember
Mhm.
criterias, and
Yeah.
that's good. But here's the difference, like the thin line difference, that you should still get it from nausea. Why? Because if you get it from nausea, you will then
It saves
integrate
some
the
time.
definition also, which is so
Yeah.
good. If you're just
Yeah.
paraphrasing, you're just literally giving the definition, you're moving on to the
Right.
criteria, then you're just integrating
Yeah.
criteria, and that's done. So there's
Yeah.
nothing for depth that you did, right?
Yeah.
So try doing that. But if it's a day three, then I would say use your memory. Don't go to nausea. Don't waste time. Just paraphrase the definition, maybe in a one-liner, the criteria, and you're done. So that's the biggest difference in day two and day three.
And even the summary, like whatever you learn, right, Pearl, during the crash,
Mhm.
or whosoever is there and has done the crash course, what we are teaching there is, so what we are teaching is, that you should have it on top of your head what the provisions are.
Yeah.
I'll tell you my case as well here, just to add and give everyone a picture of when to attempt what. So if you know the technical source, that is a very good to have thing. One, to refer from where to copy paste, but second, in my case, I was struggling a bit on day two, and
Yeah.
and then there were a couple, but thankfully there were a couple of financial reporting AOs. One was, so I just noted the example on, one was on non NPO, and the second was on non-monetary, and I knew on top of my head that the financial reporting standard, what it had to say. I knew
Mhm.
the G, I knew the gap. So I didn't bother at all because I thought, okay, this is my golden opportunity to save time. In all of these,
Yeah.
I think two AOs, NPO and non-monetary, 17 minutes each, roughly say, in my mind, I had 30 minutes, but I attempted both the AOs in like 12 to 14 minutes. So it was very quick because I knew the gap. So, I just did a IGAR. I thought, this is my opportunity. Let's just save time. So that,
Right.
when you know technical standards, it is very subjective, in a particular instance of the case. If you have time, as Gunit mentioned, feel free to write more and describe more to get more depth. But when you are short of time, irrespective day two,
Yeah.
day three,
If you're short of time, then don't go for nausea and
yeah,
don't, because like attempting the full question in that case is any day better than going to nausea, wasting time and not being able to complete the exam.
yeah. So it is really good to know the standard. It is really good. And we appreciate that you take more pain to maybe revise the crash course twice, because it is just 7 hours in FR. So, but using the technical standard, it is very subjective at the particular instance of the case. So yeah.
Right. And a related question is something about nausea, which I think I've already asked you guys on my email. So how do you suggest we copy paste it onto our word. So if there are, say, so taking non-monetary transaction as an example, so say I wrote down all the criteria, I copied all the criteria. Can I like integrate the facts in between those
Yeah.
lines, or should I
That,
just?
that is
Yeah.
how you do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
That is
how
how
do
you
I
do.
differentiate between what is copy
Hold
pasted
it
and
out.
what is something which I have
Hold
written?
it out. Yeah.
Like
Like,
just the font. Maybe for Nausea you can do in italic, and but bold
Okay.
is good.
yeah, bold is good.
Bold
You
is good actually
bold is
because
good.
it stands out.
Yeah, it stands out.
And do I need to like erase all the paragraph references?
No,
No, no, no, don't do
nothing.
that. Yeah, they are ill-concerned of
Okay.
what the paragraph is or
And you
not.
would also see in the, in the responses, in the board issued
Mm.
responses, sometimes they refer the gap number also, paragraph number, that as per
Yeah.
gap, this.
Yeah.
We didn't even used to do that because
No.
again, that takes time. Like literally,
Yes. Yeah.
you would
Yeah.
feel that it's a small thing, it will take only like 30 seconds. But when you accumulate those 30 seconds, it turns out to be 5, 7
Yeah.
minutes, which were
Which is
enough
one
for you to do
AO,
one
yeah.
AO.
Yeah.
So
Right. Yeah. So I was actually just speaking with a colleague of mine who has, done their CPA already through Densmore and all. So they were showing me their previously written papers.
Yeah.
And I saw that they were presenting it so well. So I think now for me, it's a reverse situation than what Guneet you just mentioned, that you were presenting it well and then you had to switch to not focusing so much on presentation. So for me, I think after looking at that, I'm trying to focus a little more on how I'm presenting, and
No, no.
because
because
So
they were
there's so
even
many
like
people, there's
they
so
are
many
even
people.
like writing down the formulas on Excel to show that this is A into B is
no
this.
No, no,
one,
no,
Like
no,
don't
it's like
worry.
people
spoon
don't do
feeding
that.
the examiner. So is that
Don't do
necessary?
that. Because,
Don't worry.
there's so many people out there whose typing speed is so well. Like, I'm not
Yeah.
talking about yours, but mine was pretty decent. Like, just decent.
Mhm.
It's not like very good. So
Okay.
it could be possible because I remember when I was sitting in the exam, there were people around me and they're like, like,
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm so slow. I could feel it during the exam that I'm
Yeah.
writing so slow. So, if there's people like those, then obviously they can spend time beautifying the
Yeah.
response, but I don't think that works for us.
No, don't do that, Pearl.
But is that expected of us?
No.
I quickly
Okay.
glanced over your response just to refresh my memory. The
Yeah.
thing which we have been focusing again is process and structure. Like in your,
Mm.
I don't see the structure there currently. I don't see the process like, I got, you have the technicals good, but
Mhm.
just the structure, conclusions,
Yeah.
for a CFE marker, they may not even go into the responses. Like I'm not saying this is some, Asian mentality, but just they don't want to or may not go.
Yeah.
So your focus should be to, show that you have covered your bases right. So
Right.
if you do that,
Basically,
you should be
following that CPA structure is very important. It's the same
Okay.
thing as they used to mention to us back in India that, instead of writing long paragraphs, you have to write point wise so that it catches the eye, the person can
Yes.
correctly see
Yes.
what you're referring to. I think that is why they established the issue, gap analysis,
yeah,
recommendation, weakness, impact, recommendation, all
yeah,
these standard structures.
yeah,
I think CPA themselves, the CPA body came up
yeah,
with
yeah.
these
Because
just so that,
these are known as the
Yeah.
CPA way,
yeah.
right?
So you
So
have
Yeah.
to follow
yeah,
that.
and in
Right.
India, we actually used to follow these structures back home, but those were more
Mhm.
suggested ones. But
Yeah.
here it is
Right.
mandatory. If you're
Yeah.
not following,
Yeah.
you are not getting the C that is required.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. Thanks, guys.
No
no
problem.
problem at all.
Any other questions?
Yeah, hi, Ramneet. Hi, Gunit.
Hi,
Hey,
Sajal.
hi Sajid.
So, I think enough about day one, day two, day three. I'm talking about day one. So I've not started practicing day one yet. I have not started yet.
Okay.
So what are the ways that I can start with day one? And uh, I'm referring to, I think I've selected Viviana. There is some,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
and I have not practiced it. So do you
Okay.
think how many days I should keep for day one? Any
Try
idea on that?
try to start early is would be my first suggestion so that you are not, hanged out in the end because otherwise you would be under that pressure that, oh, I have not started day one.
Yeah.
It doesn't take many days if you learn the structure. So how you need to start is, just start with the structure. Like what does this day one need? So you need to start with situational analysis, mission, vision, objectives, writing the key success factors, then writing the different situations. under situations when you do your quants, you need to write the conclusion. When you do your qual, you need to do a pro and con. How many pros and cons? Do you need to link those pros and cons with, the vision, mission, KSF, key success factors or not? And, repeating the situation one with two, three, four, and then doing an overall conclusion. If you were there earlier, we were also talking about the hidden AOs. So try to understand the structure first. That is your first step. So try to understand structure, embed in your mind what is required of day one, because there are no technicals as such. What they are, so they are basically testing your business mindset on day one as to whether, so there is a company, there are four projects, but there could be constraints, which is mostly finance. Are you able to, you as a CPA, are you able to prioritize between different projects, or are you saying no, everything is fine, and you're not focusing on the hidden AO, which could be financing, like they are repetitively saying in the case that the company is short of funds, they are not able to raise finances. So that is the hidden AO.
You have to
You need
catch
to,
it.
yeah, you need to catch it and figure it out, and then say, okay, I realize that the company doesn't have enough funds. So let's cancel project C, do A, B, and D, and that is the overall conclusion. So like understand the structure.
But as
Second,
a starting point, Sajal, I recommend that what you should do is that maybe take a day one case from before, any day
any
one
case, yeah.
case, go through it, and go to the response, the board response for that exam, right? Because like it's an entirely different mindset, entirely different strategy as compared to day two and day three. So before attempting one yourself, you should know what it looks like, what are they doing, what are they trying to achieve in that in that exam pattern. And then I'm not sure if you have access to the mock cases, the capstone 2 cases,
Yeah.
like for your case, right? So maybe try then attempting a couple of them in day one. If you've like gone through one previous year case, and gone through means you're not writing it, you're just going through it to see how it's done, and then attempting the two
Yeah.
cases, that the mock cases released by the institute.
Yeah.
That is enough. And then
Yeah.
also reading the capstone 1 case.
Yeah.
That's all.
And that
It's
also
all
you
about the
don't need to.
strategy. You just need to have things in your mind that, okay, this is how I'm going to approach things. You need to know factually that, okay, I have to integrate pros and cons, at least 3 pros and cons to the KSFs or corporate values,
Vision and
mission or
mission.
vision, things like that. And I think we have one coffee chat video specifically dedicated to day one. It's just that
Okay.
the questions asked in there were
Very
by the
relevant.
students were all basically day one. So
Day one
I
questions.
named it day one when I uploaded it on YouTube.
So we can
you
share that as well, yeah.
Yeah, maybe you can go through that.
Yeah.
But as a starting point, I would say that just take any previous year day one case and just like start with it. And obviously, you can reach out to any of us if if you have any specific question, or if there's something that you're
Yeah.
not able to understand or you need help with. But I think if you're writing the May attempt, now is the time that you
Now's the
should
time. Yeah.
Yeah.
get started. Because it's only a matter of like 3-4 days
Yeah.
for day one. But the earlier you spend the first 2 days, you will at least have in your mind that, okay, this is what
Yeah.
I'm looking at.
Because in
Okay.
the end, day one is also equally important for you
Exactly.
to pass the.
Yeah.
And do not underestimate it. Like anyone on the call, do not underestimate day one. There are again many students who flunk on day one
Yeah.
and do day two and day three
Yeah.
perfectly. So you need to, do everything correct.
Okay. Thank you. And one more thing. So on day 2 and day 3, I know I should not was supposed to ask this, but is h- how many AO, if I'm not able to attend maybe a couple of AOs, then it would be fine, or would I get flunk if I'll skip 1 or 2 AOs because
See,
of time?
don't plan of skipping. So very straightforward answers. Do not plan to skip the AOs. But yes, if you miss by chance 1.5 AO, that is not end of the world.
But
Okay.
that also depends on how well you attempted
The
the
other
remaining
ones.
ones.
Yeah.
Right? Because that is very important. And you know what? Like if you adding to what Rivneet said, like if you plan in your head that you would be okay leaving one and a half AO, you will see that in the exam you will end up leaving more than 2 years. So don't
Oh,
go with that mindset. If you go with the mindset of attempting all years, then you might miss one and it should be
Yeah,
fine. It
that's
happened with
right.
me. I went with the mindset of not missing any AO, but I didn't end up missing one
One.
AO.
Yeah.
okay.
But
And is there any pattern that how many C or how many RC should I get uh, to clear?
no,
Very,
that's
very repetitive question.
yeah.
Very common question. There is nowhere it is written. Generally
Okay,
speaking, but still, as a general answer, 50% is considered to be fair. Like out of all the years, 50% C's if you are getting is considered fair.
okay,
No basis or underground,
Yeah, even Ravneet could be wrong, so don't
yeah.
just consider
Don't
that
rely. Yeah.
there's no answer to this
Yeah.
question.
Don't rely.
okay,
Yeah.
Yeah.
okay. Cool. Thank you, guys.
No worries.
No
So we
problem.
had one question in the chat here. Dashmeet is asking whether to, from, and subject, whether you should be starting your case response with that. Yes, you should. It takes 30 seconds. So you have to do that. It is a pattern because, yeah, you should be doing that.
I want to ask one thing, like for the quants, like in the Excel, do we need to, um, like mention the, like especially for the day three, like these are the exhibits for the case one, and these are for case two, and then case three, like in the same sheet, or we can use the different sheets and
Same
name
sheet.
them as case one,
One
case
sheet.
three,
One
one
sheet.
sheet and all the exhibits for
Yeah,
all the cases
that's
in
right.
continuity
That's right.
number.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I hope you all know that during the exam you don't have the alt tab option, right? So when you're referring to nausea, for example, what you'll do is that you will minimize your word file to maybe the right, keep nausea to your left. If there is a time when you're doing an FR question and quants are involved, and you also have to simultaneously refer to nausea, you have to minimize nausea, left corner or whatever, word file here, and then Excel here, just so that, and this is one good thing about it, because what normally people would do is that they would change tabs with the mouse, and that takes time because your hands are on keyboard and then you're switching into tabs from the
Yeah.
mouse. So a good advice here is that you can minimize your screens and have all three at the same time, or maybe two at the same time, so that you're not kind of spending a lot of time, like doing here and there. And the PCs and the laptops can be a little slow than normal, so like with the mouse, if you're switching, it can take like a few seconds. So just try to do that.
Yeah.
Like I was practicing with the keyboard, like the proper keyboard, the wired keyboard, but I think they gave us the laptops. So will it make a difference in the typing speed?
It may,
Yeah,
like,
it
try
may. I
try
would
doing
say
on
that
the
it
laptop.
may.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you should try on the laptop.
Because obviously a traditional keyboard, the keys are different than the laptops, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, especially the
So
numbers.
exactly. So you
Oh
should
no.
practice on a laptop, I'll say,
Yeah.
for the remaining days, just so
Okay.
you have a hang of it.
Yeah.
Any other questions, guys?
So that's countdown 3, 2, and 1. Okay. Okay, so thank you very much. I think it's really good questions.
Yeah, we weren't actually hoping
Like
that
these many
these many
questions.
students would come in today, considering the last day of
Yeah.
the tax return season.
Yeah. So that's like really appreciate your time, especially the May student, like May attempt students coming at this time, listening to us for almost 2 hours, 1.5 hours, 2 hours. So yeah, really appreciate. And the questions this time around were very insightful, even for us. So each time we come to a coffee chat, even for us, these are like new questions, different story always. And we would be uploading this coffee chat on YouTube, and we'll share the link soon so that it is accessible for you anytime you want.
But guys, like for those who are writing May attempt, I know it can get very overwhelming.
Yeah.
Like even if you're doing everything right, but like still the nervousness of the exam and everything, it does get a little to your head. So like anytime that you feel like texting us, or like need some moral
Don't
support,
worry.
some
Yeah.
kind words, just feel free to text us.
we will try to do another coffee chat maybe 2 weeks after, maybe closer to the exams. If you want, maybe we can send a quick question on the group if anyone wants to join a coffee
Yeah.
chat, so we can plan a drop-in again. So yeah, watch out our message for that. So until then, best of luck.
Yes, good
keep
luck
studying.
to all of you.
Yeah.
Just be confident, stay calm, everything will be good. You guys will actually be good.
Yeah, we'll
Just
be
trust
ready.
yourself.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much.
Thank
Thank
you
you very much, guys.
All right. Have a good night, guys.
Yeah,
Bye
have a good
bye.
night.
Thank you guys. Bye.